I must admit, I find it rather strange that the first book I'm releasing is a book of poetry. I've always been a bit more of a novel writer than a poet, and I will promise you this, I do have novels coming, could just take some time. It's not that I have anything against poetry, I never have. I mean, obviously I'm writing poetry and releasing it. But poetry always seemed to have so many rules. You have to rhyming, rhythm, length, form, patterns. There was just so much going on. And it felt that to me that in order to write good poetry, you had to be good at the technical side of it. And this meant that when I was writing poetry, unless I was specifically writing a free-form poem, I'd find myself getting caught up in the technicalities and losing what I was actually trying to say. And that caused me a lot of stress, and I hated the results. So I stopped writing poetry for quite a while. And then a few years ago, poets like Atticus, Aaron Hansen, Amanda Lovelace, Rupi Kaur began crossing my path. And I fell in love with poetry again. These poets weren't and aren't, they're all still writing, particularly fussed about form and technicality. Instead of feeling very cognitive, their poetry felt raw, honest, almost a sensory experience. It felt real, alive, and present. But, most importantly for me, their poetry gave me permission to write poetry the way I wanted to write poetry, focusing more on what I was saying and not on how I was saying it. This coincided with my growing need to express what I was thinking and feeling, and novel writing was, at that time, out of the question. It required too much energy, too much clarity of mind. Journaling was difficult for similar reasons, so I wrote poetry. I wrote what became this book. This book contains poems in which I express my pain as I struggle with my anxiety, my depression, and my chronic fatigue. Such as this one. It suffocates, it burns, it clenches at the heart and claws at the throat, this monster called depression that follows me around. It numbs, it freezes, it sits in the stomach and fogs up the mind, this monster called depression that follows me around. But it also contains poetry that captures moments of joy and peace. There you go. Have you ever run in the rain? Run until you're out of breath and your clothes cling to you, until your skin runs with raindrops and you can taste it with every breath, until your hair clumps and sticks and you can't see through your glasses, until your feet are wet and muddy, but your body glistens in the light. Have you ever run in the rain? It feels like freedom and courage. It feels like magic. And then there are the occasional poems that reflect my struggles with God and, I hope, my continuing faith in Him. If this is your glory passing by, hurry by that I may see. Let the dust settle, let the tempest sleep. Let me recover myself enough that I may delight in you, because right now I can't even breathe. And so, for now, I guess I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who is here and everyone who couldn't make it. Thank you for your love and your support. Thank you for your prayers, your messages, and your encouragements. And, of course, thank you to God for His faithfulness, His goodness, and His compassion. None of this would be worth anything without Him. Thank you again, and God bless.